All right, today on Musician's Edition, we're looking in our Essential Elements Snare Drum book at number 130, and we're also going to do 131, okay? So if you look at 130, the main thing we got to focus on here, the main part where we might get tripped up is on the eighth rests, right? So in measure 1, we see we have the rhythm 1 and a, 2 and then we have a rest on beat 3. And then we play on the second half of beat 3 with and a, right? So it's going to sound just like beat 1 when we get to beat 3, except we're not going to play 3, right? 1 and a, 2 and rest, and a, 4 and. And you notice we do that several times. We do the same thing in measure 2. Measure 3, we have a similar rhythm. It's just after those eighth notes on beat 1, right? 1 and rest, and a 3 and rest, and a 1, okay? So one thing you can do is to just count this piece a few times, right? To speak the rhythm, just to get really, really comfortable with it before you try to play it with your hands, right? And I'm always, I'm a huge fan of doing that because a lot of times the problem is more mental than it is physical. So it's a really helpful thing to speak the rhythm, because if we speak it correctly, we know that we're thinking it correctly, and then we can more easily transfer it to our hands and to the sticks and to the drum, okay? So let's just say the rhythm of the first line of this piece, okay? Here we go. 2, ready, go. 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and 3, 4 and a. Okay, so that's one way to do it, where you just leave the rest silent when you speak it. That's one way to practice it. Another way is when you get to the rest, say rest, and that gives you kind of something to as a placeholder, right? And then when you're thinking it, whenever you say rest, you don't play, right? When you're actually putting it all together, but you're thinking the rhythm in your head. Okay, so let's say the first line here. But when we see the rest this time, we're going to say rest instead of leaving it silent, okay? Both ways are really helpful, so I just wanted to show you both of those. All right, here we go. Ready and go, and 1 and a 2 and rest, and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and rest, and a 4 and 1 and rest, and a 3 and rest, and a 1 and a 2 and 3, 4 and a. Okay? Now that we've said that line a couple times, let's go ahead and try to play it, okay? Here we go. 2, ready, and go, and. Okay, so that's the first line. We're going to go to the second line and use the exact same process, right? We're going to speak it first. Let's look through here. We'll just kind of glance through and see the first measure of the second line is same as the first measure of the first line. Second measure of the second line, same thing. So we've already said those two, right? Then in the third measure of the second line, we start to see stuff that's a little bit different, right? So let's say the third measure, let's just count that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Let's say that together again. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Now let's look at the last measure of the piece. So we have 1 and a, and then on beat 2 we have 2 and, right? So 1 and a, 2 and then a quarter note on 3. Sometimes when we have this 1 and a back to back with the 2 and, there's a tendency to want to pause in between those two rhythms. But what you need to do is just keep flowing straight through them, right? If you think about it, those 4 16th notes there, even though they're not beamed together, they should sound exactly like 4 16th notes that are beamed together. Kind of like the 4 16th notes that we have at the end of measure 4, right? It's going to be ta 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 ta, right? Even though they're not connected, the way that the notes sound with each other is exactly the same, right? So 1 and a 2 and 3. Okay, so now let's play that last measure. Ready and go, and. Okay, now let's say the third measure of the second line and the fourth measure of the second line both together back to back, okay? Here we go. Ready and go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3. All right, now after you've said that a couple of times and it feels really comfortable, then we'll play it. Ready and go, and. All right, Now once that's comfortable, we can go back to the beginning of the second line and we can put this whole thing together. Let's use the same process we did on the first line and make sure we speak the whole line first to get really, really comfortable with that rhythm, okay? Here we go. Ready and go. And 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and a 2 E and 3. All right, now let's play that whole line. Starting in measure 5. Ready and go. And all right. Now it's really important whenever you make the leap from counting it to playing it that you're still counting it in your head while you're playing it, right? Sometimes it's also really helpful to count out loud while you're playing, just to make sure that you're definitely thinking the rhythms that you're seeing on the page, right? Because sometimes we start playing and we get kind of caught up in what's happening in our hands and on the drum, and we stop thinking the rhythm in our minds, right? So we just want to make sure that we're always counting in our head while we're playing, okay? So now we can go back to the very beginning of the piece, and something I like to do as we kind of put the whole piece together is go through it and count the whole thing first, and then come back and play the whole thing, right? So even though we've counted and played each little chunk, now that we're piecing it all together, it's nice to go kind of back to that first step, count it all the way through, and then come back and play it all the way through, okay? So let's count it from the beginning. Again, when we get to the rest, you can either leave them silent or you can say rest when you get there, okay? Here we go, all the way through, just counting. Ready and go, and 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and a 3 and a 1 and a 2 and 3, 4 E and a 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and a 2 E and 3. All right, now let's play the whole thing from the beginning all the way through. And 1 and 2 and ready, go. All right, so that's all of number 130. So now let's skip down to 131 as promised, and we're going to look at a couple things in here. If you kind of glance through the page, you see a lot of those rhythms are pretty straightforward, very similar rhythms to what we had before, except in 131 we don't even have the eighth rests on the beat, right? So we don't even have to do the andas. We mostly have 1 and a 2 and that sort of thing. We are counting to 2 here, right? Our time signature tells us there's 2 beats in a measure, so we want to make sure we always look at that first before we start trying to play a piece. The trickiest thing in here, and we have it a whole bunch of times, is that rhythm like you see in measure 1 with the 4 eighth notes, but there's a flam on 1 and a flam on beat 2, right? There's a couple different ways to do this. One way is to play the flam with the right hand and then a single note with your left hand, and then go back to the right hand for the second flam, and then single note with the left hand again on the end of 2, right? I tend to prefer that sticking because if I can play both of those flams with the same hand, a lot of times it's going to sound a little bit more consistent. Another way to play that is to play the flam and then play with your right hand for the single note, and then play a flam on the left and then play a left hand flam single note, right? So that sticking would be flam right, flam left. That can be really nice, especially at faster tempos, because it gives your opposite hand, after you play the first flam, when you're playing the single note with this hand, you can be prepping the flam with your other hand while the opposite hand's playing that single note, right? So the 2 options would be flam left, which looks like this, okay? Or flam right, left hand flam left, right? Which is a rudiment that we call flam taps, right? Okay, either one's totally cool. You kind of have to decide which one's more comfortable for you. For for me today, I'm going to play flam left each time I see that rhythm, okay? So now there's a couple of different rhythms, but there's only a few others that we have to work out here, right? Like in measure 2, we have 1 and a 2 and. In measure 3, we have 1 E and a 2 and. And then you notice measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the same thing, right? So we have flam and 1 and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and then we start that cycle over, right? Flam and 1 and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and. Then we skip down to the second line, we see we have the same sequence there, right? And the same sequence again, and then again, and then again, and then again, and then one more time, but instead of 1 E and a 2 and at the very end, we just put a flam on the very last note, right? So pretty straightforward piece once we get those flams worked out, right? So make sure you practice those a few times, pick what sticking you're gonna use, get a bunch of repetitions at it, and then we can try to put it into context and play the whole piece, okay? So here we go, number 131, all the way through from the beginning. And 1 and 2 and ready, go. Okay, and you do see the decrescendo that takes us to piano there at the very end, right? So a couple things to listen for, right? A piece that's really repetitive sometimes can be tricky because as we play that same rhythm a bunch of different times, it can start to sound a little bit different, right? So you really want to be listening, focusing really hard on making that 3-measure rhythm that we have all the way through here sound the same each and every time that we play it, of course, until we get to that decrescendo and then it gets softer, right? Another thing to watch out for is in a piece that has this same thing a whole bunch of times, is really repetitive. There's a tendency to get lost in those repeats, right? So one way to do it is to just focus really hard and make sure that you track your eyes through the piece, right? Sometimes that's doable. Sometimes it's more beneficial to number those different cycles, right? So if I were to do that over the first 3 measures, I would write a number 1. Over the second 3 measures, I would write a number 2. Over the third group of 3 measures, I'd write a number 3. That way I can track along, okay, here's the first time that I play this cycle of measures. Here's the second time I play this cycle of measures. Here's the third time and fourth time. And it kind of helps me keep track of where I'm at, especially when you start playing this with an ensemble and there's other things going on and you need to be listening for other things and your focus is kind of pulled in different directions. That can be really, really helpful to make sure that you don't get lost within all those repeats, okay? So good luck with these 2 pieces. Have a good time practicing them. Make sure that you practice your flams out of context. Make sure you take your time with 130 and count those rhythms before you try to play them. And I will see you next time.